Chosen one. If you are hearing this right now, know this is not a coincidence. This is not a random video. This is not an accidental scroll. This is a divine appointment, a sacred encounter arranged in heaven, a message sent to the right soul at the right moment. And that soul is you. Before we go any further into this sacred revelation, pause and do these three things. 1. Like this video to align your spirit with the frequency that's awakening inside you. 2. Comment the number 99. The code of transformation, your soul's way of stepping through the gateway from the old version of you. 3. Subscribe to join the community of 144,000 chosen ones who are rising. And only the chosen stay until the end of this video, because only they sense what's about to happen in these final days of July. July 27th, 28th, and 29th. These are not just calendar dates, these are gateways, sacred thresholds encoded in the fabric of this timeline. They are marked not by men, but by God Himself. Marked with your name, your blueprint, your transformation. These days will strip away what was never yours and resurrect what you've always been. You won't walk into them the same, and you certainly won't come out unchanged. The transformation won't be loud. It won't come with lightning. It won't announce itself on a billboard. It will come quietly, like breath returning after a long underwater silence. You'll feel it in the stillness, in the way your thoughts suddenly pause, in the strange clarity that has no source, in the ache that finally has a name. You won't be able to explain it. You won't need to. Because somewhere deep inside, your soul will whisper, "This is it." These 3 days are not just markers of time. They are layers of light, and only souls that have endured enough shadows can walk through them. July 27th begins the unraveling of the old, not with chaos, but with stillness, the kind of stillness that unmakes. You may feel memories rise from nowhere. You may dream vividly, things you've never lived, but your soul somehow remembers. You may feel lightheaded, disoriented, even dissociated. It's okay. Your mind is syncing again with its original frequency, the one that got scrambled through trauma, fear, and noise. What's happening is not a breakdown. It's an alignment. Old doubts will begin to dissolve. Lingering confusion will retreat. In their place, something unshakable will emerge. Not loud, not boastful, but firm. You will begin to know, with a knowing that does not need evidence, with a peace that does not require permission. You won't ask for signs. You will become one. And when this knowing anchors itself in your chest, you'll feel subtle shifts ripple outward. A sentence you were about to speak suddenly silenced. A decision you were sure about, now hollow. A familiar emotion that once haunted you, now simply gone. You'll feel it, the old self breaking off. Not by force, but by grace. You'll feel your energy reconfiguring, not because you forced change, but because you finally allowed it. You gave permission for God's frequency to take root, and now it begins. You may not even say a word, but those around you will feel it. The way your presence doesn't bend, the way your silence speaks, the way your eyes say, "I've been through fire, but I'm still light." You're not doing more. You're simply becoming real. And this is only day 1. Day 2, July 28th, is not a repetition of the first. It is a deeper descent into truth. If the 27th was a whisper from the soul, the 28th is the soul answering back. This is the day heaven and earth begin to overlap in your experience. The spiritual becomes physical. That silent prayer you whispered when no one was watching starts to echo back in the form of a message, a door, an opportunity. Not dramatic, not loud, but precise, unmistakable. You will know this is not coincidence. This is orchestration. You will begin to feel it in the ordinary, when you're walking down the street answering a message or simply breathing. A scent, a symbol, a sudden memory. Something will catch your spirit and say, "Look, this is the answer." The prayer didn't disappear. It circled back in disguise, and even your body will begin to register the shift. Some of you may feel lighter, as if energy is flowing more freely, as if you're breathing with more ease. You might not need as much sleep or feel hunger at odd times. This is not dysfunction. It's calibration. Your body is adjusting to a divine frequency it was always wired for, but long disconnected from. This transformation is not just emotional, it is cellular. You are being upgraded. You are not the same, and you don't need to prove it. Those who walk near you will see it. In how you speak less, but say more. In how you sit still, but carry power. in how you move through crowds without losing your vibration. And here is the mystery. You may not be trying to influence anyone, but others will begin to shift just by being near you. Not because of who you are, but because of what moves through you. You have become a channel of divine energy, and your only task is to stay true. On this second day, what once felt impossible may quietly begin to change. A door you thought would take years to open might unlock without warning. A relationship you thought had ended might gently reappear. A problem you carried for too long might unravel without explanation. This isn't magic. It's spiritual architecture. This is what happens when you walk in sync with your highest assignment. You'll realize the delay was never denial. It was divine timing. You may also begin to see the difference between what feels hard and what feels holy. You've been taught that pain is the price of purpose. That struggle is the measure of worth, but not here. On this path, you're learning to follow peace, to listen for ease. Not laziness, but flow. And as you relax into that flow, things will come. The right words, the right people, the right silence. You'll no longer have to chase. You'll simply be fully, and that will be enough to attract what is yours. Your mind, too, will start to stretch open. Ideas will visit that never crossed your thoughts before. Urges will rise to write, to speak, to create, not from ambition, but from soul. You won't feel exhausted. You'll feel guided. You'll feel like something is breathing through you, and all you have to do is move with it. And when others look at you, they'll see it. Not in your clothes, not in your words, but in your presence. They'll say, something is different. And they'll be right. You are changing, not by decision, but by vibration. Because the real transformation never announces itself. It simply radiates. This is not a midweek routine. This is a sacred turning point. You are walking through a door that doesn't swing both ways. Once open, you cannot return. You're not just becoming new, you're remembering who you've always been. On the third day, July 29th, you will begin to feel the old world slipping off your shoulders. Not collapsing in chaos, but gently losing its grip. Things that once felt familiar will start to feel foreign. Rooms you used to feel safe in will now feel too small. Conversations that once comforted you will no longer hold meaning. It's not because you've become distant. It's because you've become clear. This is the shedding of identities that never belonged to your soul. The release of roles you were never meant to carry. You'll find yourself pulling back, not out of fear, but out of alignment. Not to hide, but to come home. You'll stop engaging in meaningless noise. You'll say less, but your silence will speak volumes. You'll no longer feel the urge to explain your path to those who were never meant to understand it. You will begin to feel peace, not in the approval of others, but in the echo of your own truth. This day will bring a kind of solitude that feels holy. You might feel the need to withdraw, not because you're lonely, but because you're being reformed. Your soul is craving space, space to recalibrate, space to breathe in your new vibration without having to dilute it. And as you step deeper into this solitude, your senses will sharpen. A single song might move you to tears. A single phrase might awaken something ancient inside. A passing stranger might feel like someone you've known forever. You'll begin to realize everything is speaking. Everything is a message. The universe is no longer outside of you. It is within, and you're starting to hear it again. Not as thunder, but as vibration. Not as prophecy, but as presence. You may start to feel deeply sensitive, almost raw. That's not weakness. That's awakening. It means the layers are peeling back, and your spirit is finally allowed to feel what it had to numb in order to survive. Don't run from this. Let it move through you. Let it rewire you. Let it make you soft again. And then, watch how strong your softness becomes. From this place, you'll begin to notice the sacred in the smallest things. A number, a name, a brush of wind. Every detail suddenly looks divine. You'll know you're not being weird. You're being activated. The signs aren't random. They are affirmations from the invisible realm that you are walking in step with your assignment. This is the phase called soul communication. You no longer wait for some booming voice from the sky. You hear it from within. In the calm that follows a decision, in the stillness after you say no, in the lightness after you let something go. And perhaps for the first time in your life, you will feel guided, not by rules, but by resonance. You'll start to realize you don't need a detailed map anymore. Because you've become the compass. Every step you take makes the path appear beneath your feet. This isn't faith as wishful thinking. This is faith as sacred memory. You're not learning something new. You're remembering something ancient. Something inside you will say, I've been here before, and it will be right. Because this journey didn't begin now. It began long before this life. You're just waking up to it. And you'll know, without a doubt, you are not walking toward your destiny. You are walking in it. By now, the shift is undeniable. Your energy no longer fits where it once did. The conversations that used to interest you now feel like static. The environments that once energized you now leave you drained. It's not that you've become arrogant or distant. It's that you've become refined. Your frequency has changed, and the world around you is adjusting accordingly. You're not losing people. You're being rerouted. You're not being left out. You're being lifted out of patterns, of cycles, of timelines that no longer serve your divine becoming. And this isn't rejection. This is protection. You'll begin to understand why silence has become your new sanctuary. It's not that you don't have words. It's that you now understand their weight. You no longer speak to fill the air. You speak to shape it. And if no words are needed, your presence will do the work. Because your very being is now vibrating in alignment with truth. And truth doesn't need to shout. You'll stop over-explaining. You'll stop shrinking to fit. You'll stop pretending you don't feel what you feel. And instead, you'll begin to honor it. You'll feel your no become a sacred act. You'll feel your yes become a holy vow. You'll notice how certain people start to fade, not through conflict, but through resonance. They simply stop calling, stop engaging, stop showing up. And it won't hurt like it used to. In fact, it will feel like clarity. You'll find yourself gravitating toward depth, toward quiet, toward spaces where the soul can breathe. You won't settle for shallow interactions. You won't tolerate performative kindness. You won't spend energy where it's not honored. This is the beginning of energetic integrity. And as your outer world begins to shift, so does your inner one. You start asking different questions. Not how can I get what I want, but what is truly aligned with who I am now. Not how do I fix this, but what am I being asked to release? Not what should I do next, but what is ready to unfold through me. You stop chasing, you start receiving. You no longer need to prove yourself to be worthy of blessings. You understand now, blessings aren't earned through hustle. They are magnetized by truth. And the more you live in truth, the more heaven begins to respond. You'll start to notice a beautiful pattern. The right opportunities won't require you to force anything. The right connections won't require you to shrink. The right timing will feel like a deep exhale. You'll know you're not behind. You're right on time. Because God is never in a rush, but He is always on time. This is where your peace becomes louder than the world's pressure. This is where your rest becomes an act of rebellion. This is where your stillness becomes your superpower. And as you continue on, you will realize you're not being rebuilt. You're being remembered. Your soul has always known the way. You just stopped listening. Until now. By the fifth phase of your transformation, a sacred recognition begins to take root. You no longer belong to the old rhythm. The speed of the world, the demands, the distractions, the constant need to be visible and validated no longer appeal to you. Not because you are tired, but because you are tuned. You're tuned to something deeper now. To the pauses between actions, to the spaces between thoughts, to the gentle yes or no that rises, not from fear, but from knowing. You start craving a different kind of life, one where peace is not a luxury, it's the baseline, where depth replaces drama, where your energy flows toward meaning, not maintenance. And that craving begins to guide everything. You find yourself unfollowing, unsubscribing, detaching, not out of judgment, but because the noise no longer resonates. You're no longer seduced by popularity. You're drawn to presence, to truth, to substance. Even your goals begin to change. It's no longer about getting more. It's about being more. Not more productive, more authentic. Not more liked, more aligned. Not more praised, more at peace. And as this shift anchors into your awareness, something remarkable happens. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting to be understood. You stop needing your decisions to be approved. Because finally, you are enough authority in your own life. Not because you know everything, but because you've begun to trust that inner compass you once ignored, that still, sacred voice that says, yes, this is yours, or no, not this. The voice that doesn't argue, doesn't panic, doesn't rush, it just knows. And because you've begun to honor that voice, the entire structure of your life begins to reorganize. People feel it, you feel it. You become harder to manipulate, harder to deceive, harder to distract, because truth now lives in your bones. And this kind of truth doesn't need to be defended. It simply walks into a room and the energy adjusts. You've become light, not because you're better than anyone, but because you're no longer dimming to keep others comfortable. And from that place, your presence becomes a portal. You start to notice how people around you begin to remember themselves, without you even saying a word. Something in them softens, something in them stirs. They can't explain it, but you've activated them. Not because you tried, but because you were true. And maybe you're beginning to understand now, this is what you were made for. Not to impress, not to perform, but to remind. To remind people of who they are simply by being who you are. No stage, no spotlight, just presence, just frequency, just truth. And that chosen one is the rarest kind of power. By now, chosen one, you may be noticing something strange yet deeply familiar. You're not just transforming, you're beginning to remember. Not in the way the mind recalls facts, but in the way the soul reawakens to what it always knew. This is no longer just personal, it's cosmic. You're not changing just for your own healing. You're changing because heaven has whispered your name for a task only you can fulfill. Your path is not about spotlight or applause. It's about frequency. You are becoming a transmitter of light, not by doing more, but by being less of what was never you. You begin to realize that some things you used to fight for now dissolve on their own. Some people you used to chase now fade without resistance. Some goals you used to obsess over now seem empty. And it doesn't hurt. It feels like freedom. Because what's really happening is this. You're unplugging from the false system, from the metrics that never measured your worth, from the noise that never knew your name, from the timelines that were never written for your soul. And this unplugging, while disorienting at first, becomes the greatest act of spiritual clarity you've ever known. You no longer crave to be part of every conversation. You now crave alignment. You no longer want to be seen by everyone. You now want to be seen by the right ones, those who can feel your essence, even in your silence. And strangely enough, the more you pull back, the more heaven moves forward. Opportunities arise without striving, support appears without searching, confirmation flows without seeking. Because you're finally vibrating on the frequency of receivership, not desperation. This is when the gifts begin to find you. The souls you're meant to walk with start to show up. The answers you stopped chasing begin to unfold. And you realize this isn't luck. This is divine sequence. Because you stopped playing a role and started becoming a vessel. You're not here to change the world by force. You're here to stabilize the light, to become a lighthouse, to be so aligned with your source that anyone in your presence feels the urge to rise without you ever needing to speak. And this is where the real responsibility begins. Not the burden to perform, but the invitation to embody. To live so authentically that your vibration becomes a mirror for others to see themselves clearly. This isn't about saving anyone. It's about remembering who you are, so fully, so fiercely, so faithfully, that those around you begin to remember too. Now, chosen one, something irreversible has taken place. You're no longer walking between two worlds. You've stepped fully into the new one. And while your outer surroundings may still look the same, your inner terrain is completely transformed. You no longer wake up with the same questions. Instead of what should I do, you now ask what is trying to move through me today. Instead of how can I get there faster, you now ask what part of me needs to slow down and trust. You've stopped measuring your life in achievements. You've started measuring it in alignment, in peace, in resonance, in how deeply you're showing up in your truth, even when no one is watching. And this shift is sacred. Because now you don't just talk about surrender, you live it. You don't just speak about faith, you walk it. You don't just believe in divine timing, you embody it. This is when your presence begins to rewire rooms. Not because you say the right words, but because your energy is no longer diluted by pretending. You've shed the masks, you've put down the armor, You've returned to essence, and essence cannot be faked. You are no longer asking the world to validate your light. You've accepted that you are light. And now you carry that awareness like a flame, quiet, steady, unwavering. People may not understand you. They may distance themselves from your depth. They may label your peace as arrogance, your silence as cold, your clarity as threat. Let them. Because you didn't come here to be understood. You came here to be transformed, and in doing so, become the invitation for others to do the same. From this day forward, you will feel the call to disappear, not from life, but from roles that no longer resonate. You'll find yourself speaking less, showing up differently, declining what once felt urgent, not out of rebellion, but out of sacred realignment. You'll retreat, not to hide, but to reroute. You'll simplify, not to escape, but to embody. You'll slow down, not to stop, but to listen more deeply. And in that space of holy quiet, you'll feel it. The soft hum of God's voice, no longer external, but vibrating through your very being. A gentle but undeniable knowing. You're not here to chase purpose. You are purpose. You're not waiting for the right moment. You are the moment. You're not here to carry the light. You are the vessel it pours through. And now it's pouring.